what should a DLC be, right? The base of the game should be playable, enjoyable, finishable without the DLC. And that has not been the case. Some games, I know Nintendo has been hot in the news lately. But hi guys, and welcome to the Caravan Chats. Today, we talking DLC, downloadable content. I got a gripe with DLC. You feel me? So, generally, when I think of DLC, I think of an addition, right? Like, you bought the game, you liked the game, you loved the game, and the developers were like, hey, we got some good stuff for you. We ain't done yet. There's a little extra, little icing on top, little sprinkles, little jimmies on top. And it made sense, right? Because usually DLC would be, a new outfit or a skin or something like that, or it'd be like an extra level or a different difficulty setting or a different mission or something, right? And I think that is a great idea. I think there's a lot of games that could be expanded upon, especially if you created a game, but maybe you had to get it out by a certain time frame. So you didn't have the opportunity to add in everything you wanted to add in. So it was like a way to be like, hey, here's some more for you guys, right? I think there's a question of, should a DLC be something you purchase or should it be free? Because I think back to games like Resident Evil 4, the original on the GameCube, and how, I guess it wouldn't be considered DLC because you didn't download it. It just came with the base game. But after you beat the base game, it unlocks more content. So you had a different play mode, you had different outfits, and things of that nature. And that was cool because it was kind of like a motivator to play the game, to finish the game so that you could get that extra thing. And it was like a reward for beating the game, being like, hey, I know you love that, but here's a little bit more. Keep playing, keep enjoying, have at it. And we've kind of lost that over the years. In my last video, I talked about how game companies are getting a little greedy and want all this money. But I think that has played a part into it, as well as just companies pushing out games as quick as possible. So they don't really have the time to add in those little details that they wanted to. So it begs the question, what should a DLC be, right? I feel like the game itself, the base of the game should be playable, enjoyable, finishable, without the DLC. You should be able to 100% enjoy this product whether or not you get the DLC. And that has not been the case. Some games, I know Nintendo has been hot in the news lately, but with their latest game, the Legends game that just came out, there are certain mega evolutions you can only get through the DLC, and they're for a limited time. So it's just a lot of, you can't do something in the game without this DLC. And I guess you don't need those mega evolutions to beat the game, but that is usually the draw of Nintendo lately. Is when they put out a Pokemon game, they're like, mega evolutions, that's our thing. So you want the mega evolution. So to not have it unless you get the DLC, it's kind of okay. Especially when the game itself is expensive and then the DLC is also expensive, and it just kind of feels like, why couldn't that have just been a part of the game? Another Nintendo related example. Sorry, you guys. I play more than Nintendo. They're just the first things that come to mind, because they are big in the DLC game. With the game Skyward Sword that I'm currently playing on my channel, you fly around the world using your Loftwing. That is the main travel system, right? However, if you buy a separate amiibo, which is similar to DLC, so to speak, you can get a fast travel option where, I think it's Zelda and her Loftwing, and you can fly from anywhere, right? Which is a big time saver. So it's yes, you don't need it to beat the game, but it's such a instrumental improvement to the game that it's why not just make that a thing? This was the HD remake. Why is there DLC for a remake? You know what I mean? Like, the whole point is you are adding on to the original game. And for example, in the Wind Waker remake, not the recent one that's on the Switch 2, like GameCube online thing, but the one that was for, I believe, the Wii U, they improved the speed of the King of Red Lion's boat that you sail around on with something that was in-game. It wasn't something you had to buy separately. It was just, you could like do a mission, I think, to get the sail that's faster, the speed up thing. So it was like, they included it in the game instead of, well, you gotta pay if you want this game to go by any fast. So just an example of how things have kind of shifted, even within one company itself, onto DLC. And it also makes you think of games like the Fortnites and the Marvel Rivals, and how like there's constantly new skins coming out or events and things of that nature, where you have to keep plugging in money to play, not necessarily to play the game, but to have that skin or enjoy that skin, which makes sense, I think, that they wouldn't just give out free ones. Although I do like the idea, I think Fall Guys kind of did that, where like they would have free ones that they came out with, and then they would have paid for ones that came out with as well, which kind of gave you a chance to experience something different without having to pay. But if you wanted the nice skin, you'd have to pay. I think also with League of Legends, I haven't played it in years, so I don't know what's changed on it. But I know there are ways that you could like earn credits from actually playing the game that you could put towards skins, which yes, you would need a lot, and it would just be cheaper to buy them. But it was just nice that they had another option, so it wasn't just a pay-to-play sort of thing. The next point I want to get to is what is too soon and what is too late when it comes to DLC. So as far as too soon, sorry, I'm going to keep harping on Nintendo, but the Legends game came out with DLC you could purchase like immediately. And it kind of felt like a slap in the face to some gamers, because they were like, so traditionally DLC would come out like after the game has come out, and it was usually like, okay, well, here's some more stuff we were working on, but like we couldn't get it done in time for the release, or you know, we got some feedback, people are really loving this game, and it gave us an opportunity to create something else. So like, here you go, guys. But the fact that it's like launch day, here's some extra content that you can pay for, and it's like, I haven't even had a chance to see if I like the game enough to want to buy that DLC. So it's kind of like weird, right? Then there's the opposite, where it's like, is there ever too late to make DLC for a game? Obviously, if your server's dead, there's no point. As far as Stardew Valley, the creator, Concord Great, has been still like making updates, making patches. I wouldn't say necessarily like DLC or like things you can buy that make the game different, other than the co-op mode that they created. So like, that's a case of like, this game has been around for years, but people really, really, really loved it. So we are still improving it. We're still working on it. We're still bringing out new content to kind of like help out, right? To make a point that we care about our things, and it keeps people still playing. I mean, people still play it to this day. I don't think that works necessarily for every game, especially if you're a company that's pumping out games like back to back to back. You don't have the time to be working on DLC for one game while you're already moving forward to the next one. Then there's the idea of like, well, if you don't make DLC, do you make a sequel? I got a hot take for you guys, a Zelda hot take, and I'm sorry, I know this is going to upset a lot of people, but I think Tears of Kingdom should have just been DLC. Sorry. I know. Y'all gonna come for me in the comments. But a lot of the key elements of Tears of the Kingdom were from the base game of Breath of the Wild. And I feel like you could have scaled down Tears of the Kingdom and just made it DLC for Breath of the Wild. And if you did want to go the route of just a completely separate sequel, there should have been its own base game. It shouldn't have felt like Breath of the Wild's, 0.5. This isn't Kingdom Hearts, you guys. Like 2.5 and whatnot. But it felt like a DLC for me because you still had the base map that they had made for Breath of the Wild. Yes, there were a couple of changes, but for the most part, it was the same. The only real difference was that they added the depths and then they added the sky area. But the depths there was no depth to the depths. See what I did there? But there wasn't like shops and stores and people and towns and its own like map, basically. It was just a forest, basically, just like one giant dungeon that had multiple, like a big dungeon. And so it felt kind of shallow. There could have been more. I would have loved to have seen like anti-people if it was like, this is anti this guy in town or anti that guy in town. And they were like a dark version of that person. Like that would have been so cool to have like the entire town in the depths. Like that would have made more sense for a secondary game. But instead, they just gave bare bones, which feels like a DLC, just saying. And then the sky was literally just a couple little floating islands where you couldn't really do much but just like gather a material. So it wasn't really like a third map. And yes, there were new characters involved. Yes, there was a new storyline involved, new bosses, things of that nature. And the new mechanic of building things, but that's where I'm saying like they could have scaled that part down and just made it DLC. For me personally, I don't too much care if a game has DLC or not. Kind of indifferent to the matter. However, if there's a game that I really, really, really love, I would love DLC for it. If there's a game that was really special or like I'm indifferent if a game actually has DLC or not. But if a game does do very well and people really like it, I could see where it would be beneficial to make DLC and why people would want it, Like, I love this game, give me more. And I think part of the reason companies might be straying away from this idea is that they want you to keep buying games, right? I've had this thought after I had posted my last video about Nintendo, but I feel like that's part of the reason so many games feel shallow and don't feel like value for your money. Because like back in the day, games only came out so often. So like the game had to be good. You had to be able to plug hundreds of hours into it. But like how many people can say they've plugged hundreds of hours into like the recent games that have been coming out the last couple of years? Like, yes, if it's a bigger game like the Elden Rings or if it's more of that style of game, I can understand you getting more hours out of it because it takes you longer to beat it. But like just in general, like back then, if you go to like howlongtobeat.com and stuff like that, a lot of older games were like 30 hours, 40 hours, a long period of time you could put. And then if you wanted to completion it, it's like 60 hours. And now I feel like a lot of games are like 14 hours, 12 hours, 10 hours. If you completion it out, it's 20. And it's like, okay, there goes not a lot of time. But because they're producing like double the amount of games within the one calendar year, you can't spend too much time on one game because then you won't buy our next game that's coming out. And it's sad because it's like, I want to love this game. I want to play it. I bought it for a reason. And then it goes to like, why would I buy it if it's not good? If I'm not going to get any time into it, especially for that price. So I'm going to leave you guys off on the question of what is a game that had amazing DLC? What is a game that had some not so amazing DLC? And what is a game that you would love to see DLC for? I'm talking an old game too. Like, what game do you think would benefit from DLC? Thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.